On paper, the Kremlin's grand strategy for the summer of 2026 was supposed to be the definitive turning point of the war. In the high-security briefing rooms of Moscow Russian staff officers huddled over digital tactical maps, visualizing a multi-axis offensive engineered to finally break the Ukrainian resolve. The operational concept was textbook Soviet doctrine updated for the modern era: execute a massive armored breakthrough along the southern plains of Zaporizhia, while simultaneously throwing an iron curtain of continuous artillery and localized assaults across the eastern Donbas front to fix Ukrainian reserves in place. To guarantee success, the Russian General Staff concentrated an unprecedented amount of combat power. They committed the core of the 58th Combined Arms Army, long regarded as Moscow's most capable conventional formation in the Southern Theater. Subordinate to this command, the 42nd Guards Motor Rifle Division was reinforced with deep tactical reserves, heavily equipped with modernized Soviet-era armor and newly manufactured main battle tanks. To spearhead the deep penetrations, elite elements of the VDV airborne troops were brought in alongside the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, redeployed from Crimea. For the high-attrition brute force breaching operations, the infamous Storm Z penal battalions were pushed directly to the line of contact. Moscow believed it had built an unstoppable war machine, a steamroller that would crush any defense through sheer material weight. In a matter of days, Ukrainian forces liberated over 590 square kilometers of heavily fortified territory. President Volodymyr Zelensky officially confirmed the operational success, catching international observers and Russian military intelligence completely off guard. This was not a minor tactical adjustment or a voluntary Russian retrograde. It was a violent, methodical dismantling of Russia's summer offensive before it could even begin. The multi-axis defensive crust that Russian engineers spent over a year constructing collapsed under a cloud of precision artillery fire and low-cost loitering munitions. Billions of dollars in armored vehicles, advanced electronic warfare equipment, and forward ammunition depots were reduced to burning wreckage. Putin's staff officers found themselves trapped in a reactive loop, unable to gain a single inch of strategic ground, despite 6 months of intense logistical preparation. During the highly publicized offensives of 2023, Ukraine attempted to utilize classic Western combined arms maneuvers. This involved pushing concentrated columns of Western armor, including Leopard tanks and Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, directly through dense multi-layered minefields covered by dense Russian attack aviation and kamikaze drones. The result was a brutal, slow-moving war of attrition with high material losses. The heavily mined plains of the south had proved to be a meat grinder for conventional armored thrusts. By May 2026, the Ukrainian General Staff entirely rewrote the playbook. They abandoned large-scale daytime armored advances in favor of a decentralized, highly technological, and surgical infiltration doctrine. Instead of slamming brute force against concrete walls, Ukraine began targeting the structural integrity of the Russian defensive ecosystem. Instead of moving in massive battalions, the Ukrainians broke their forces down into small, agile, highly automated assault squads. These units moved under the cover of darkness, utilizing advanced night vision optics and thermal imaging equipment. But before a single infantryman stepped forward, the Ukrainian military neutralized the one thing that keeps any modern army alive: its logistics and its command loop. The operational center of gravity for this counterstroke was the Zaporizhia front, the vital land bridge connecting mainland Russia to occupied Crimea. It was here on the strategic Huliai and Orekhiv axes that the Ukrainian military executed its most brilliant tactical maneuvers. Between May 20th and May 23rd, 2026, the Ukrainian 118th and 65th Mechanized Brigades launched a highly coordinated assault on the village of Zalesnichny, located just west of Huliai. Zalesnichny was not merely a collection of rural structures. It was a heavily fortified tactical hub, interwoven with deep trench networks designed to allow Russian forces to project power westward. The Ukrainian assault began not with a traditional artillery barrage, which would have alerted the defenders, but with an unprecedented asymmetric air campaign. Under the cover of total darkness, Ukraine launched hundreds of next-generation night vision FPV drones. These loitering munitions did not target the frontline trenches initially. Instead, they bypassed the forward edge of the battle area and struck the Russian rear. Ukrainian drones hunted down supply trucks, fuel tankers, and ammunition resupply vehicles along the secondary roads feeding the Russian front lines. Within hours, the forward elements of the Russian 42nd Guards Motor Rifle Division were completely isolated. They were out of ammunition, out of anti-tank missiles, and completely cut off from logistical support. Simultaneously, Ukrainian electronic warfare, or EW units, deployed localized high-powered jamming suites. They flooded the radio frequencies used by the Russian military, severing the connection between forward platoon commanders and their heavy artillery support. Plunged into total darkness and radio silence, the Russian front lines fell into chaos. Only then did the Ukrainian artillery open fire. Using Western-supplied Excalibur GPS-guided shells and HIMARS rockets, they systematically eliminated every pre-mapped Russian bunker with surgical precision. As soon as the artillery lifted, the agile infantry squads of the 118th and 65th Brigades breached the northern sectors of Zalesnichny. The defenders, low on ammunition and unable to call for fire support, were forced into a chaotic retreat. This tactical victory triggered a domino effect. Hours later, Ukrainian forces pivoted northwest to target the neighboring settlement of Rydkodub. The Russian army, completely lacking tactical coordination and suffering from severe supply depletion, failed to mount a cohesive counterattack. The multi-layered minefields and concrete barriers they had spent months building became completely useless. In modern high-intensity warfare, static defensive lines are nothing more than static targets if you lose control of the electromagnetic spectrum and the lower airspace. Ukraine's drone and EW superiority completely dictated the terms of the engagement. While the Huli-Ipol axis was collapsing, an even more dangerous crisis was unfolding for the Russian command just a few kilometers away. Between May 17th and May 20th, 2026, all hell broke loose on the critical Malo-Tokmachka and Bohoroditsky axis. The Russian 42nd Guards Division found itself completely outmatched in close-quarters night combat. Ukrainian soldiers equipped with superior thermal optics and suppressed weapons cleared the trenches methodically. By May 20th, both Malo-Tokmachka and Bohoroditska were entirely under Ukrainian control. By capturing these two hard-fought settlements, the Ukrainian armed forces successfully unlocked the northern gates leading to Tokmak. They did not just push the line back, they seized the critical high ground, allowing Ukrainian forward artillery observers to look directly down into the Russian logistical lines. This tactical momentum was not isolated to Zaporizhia. To prevent the Russian general staff from shifting reserves to save the south, the Ukrainian military launched simultaneous localized counterstrokes across the entire theater. In the far north along the Sumy and Kharkiv borders, elite units from the 3rd and 10th Air Assault Brigades launched rapid light infantry raids into the dense forested zones around Verkhnya Sirovatka, clearing out exposed Russian border garrisons and threatening Moscow's flank. To the east, in the war-torn Donbass region near Donetsk, the Russian military was in the middle of a high-intensity offensive aimed at capturing Pokrovsk. Just as the Russians committed their final operational reserves to the drive westward, the Ukrainian 47th Mechanized Brigade launched an unexpected violent counterattack near Kostiantynivka and Druzhba. Instead of engaging in a costly frontal battle, Ukrainian long-range drone units infiltrated deep into the Russian operational rear. They targeted oil refineries, vital rail junctions, and moving ammunition convoys miles behind the front lines, starving the Russian offensive of the fuel and bullets required to maintain momentum. As the summer months approach, the strategic reality of the war has been permanently altered. As President Zelensky stated to the international community, the Ukrainian positions on the front are now far more mature, sustainable, and rational than in previous years. The chaotic, high-loss engagements of the past have been replaced by a cold, calculating, and highly automated system of warfare. The massive, clumsy, and blind armored breakthroughs favored by traditional Soviet doctrine have been rendered obsolete. Ukraine is rewriting the rules of modern military engagement with blood silicon and intelligence. Today, everywhere from the dusty steppes of Zaporizhia to the dense forests of the north and the swamps of Kherson, Russian soldiers are hiding in their deep trenches, paralyzed by the constant low-pitched hum of Ukrainian drones circling in the sky above them. The events of May 2026 have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that mere numerical superiority cannot win a modern war. If your logistics are shattered, your command posts are obliterated, and your electronic eyes are blinded. Russia's imperial arrogance has crashed hard into a wall of technological innovation and decentralized tactical genius. The 590 square kilometers of liberated homeland territory is not the end of the campaign. It is merely the opening salvo of a much larger, more devastating storm that will shape the final outcome of this conflict. Now the question turns to you. Do you believe this tremendous strategic momentum achieved by the Ukrainian armed forces will be enough to completely sever the land bridge to Crimea and collapse the Russian southern front during the upcoming summer campaign? Or will the Kremlin, despite its logistical and tactical failures, manage to mobilize its final strategic reserves and drag this conflict into a prolonged, multi-year stalemate?